I would also like to ask that you turn any devices you have to silent mode. Few notes that I'd like to make. One is that Trustee Meng is not here this evening, but all the rest of the trustees are here, and all the superintendents are here as well. I'd also like to note a couple of special days that are happening this week. October 4th is the National Day of Action on Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Across Canada, vigils will be held on October 4th as communities come together to honor the memory of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Vigils take place in many communities across Canada as well as internationally. These gatherings serve to raise awareness and to provide support to families who have lost a loved one. So there are two events. One's in Burlington at Halton Women's Place. Halton Women's Place will be hosting a candlelight vigil, releasing a lantern, and there will be a traditional round dance ceremony at Think Spot, which is right by Lowville Park. And in Oakville, WHAM, which is Women of Halton Action Movement, will be hosting a march at the candlelight vigil, a walk from 5 till 6, followed by the vigil. The route will be Sheridan College, Trafalgar Road, and finishing on Oakville Road. We'd also like to recognize that on October 5th, it will be the UN World Teacher Day. So we'd like to celebrate all our teachers. Okay, so this evening, Trustee Amos will be honoring the land.
Thank you. Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: land, waters, plants, and animals, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation for sharing the traditional territory with us. Miigwech.
Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest? Seeing none, we're up to the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Daniele, seconded by Trustee Gray. Is there any discussion on the agenda at all? Seeing none. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, next we're up to my favorite part of the evening, Inspire Awards. So everyone in the Halton District School Board community can nominate or be nominated: families, neighbors, related organizations, staff, students, and school volunteers. The Inspire Award is given to an individual or group that is formally or informally associated with the Halton District School Board, who support our students and their achievements through exemplary, caring, initiative, innovation, and creativity. Award recipients choose where they'd like to receive their award, and this evening we have all 5 Inspire Award winners getting their awards this evening here. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Vice Chair Al Harrison as I need to present the first award.
Excellent. So I would like to invite Jane Lewis to the front. And I'd like to invite Chair Grabentz to the front as well. Okay. Excellent. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Jane. And this is only a quick snapshot. In her role as System Principal for Special Education, Jane demonstrated her comprehensive knowledge of education policies and practices, always. Jane is respected by her colleagues for her teamwork skills, her ability to thoughtfully advocate for students, and her calm leadership during emergencies. She's an outstanding team player, and her staff value the inclusive climate, culture of belonging, and a commitment to a common cause that she has created. She's always ready to contribute creative ideas and think outside the box. Jane has co-facilitated a greater partnership between student services and school programs, research, equity, and inclusive education, which has created opportunities for enhanced programming and support for students with special education needs. Through her leadership, she's assisted schools in becoming aware of support services and has helped schools build the capacity of classroom teachers to respond effectively to students' needs. Jane contributes to student achievement by addressing and modeling best teaching practices through a special education lens. She is an inspiration to her colleagues, and she has great positive impact on our students here in the HDSB. Thank you and congratulations.
It's like a microphone. But, okay.
Summer, it doesn't appear to be streaming.
And for your listening enjoyment during this brief intermission. These Inspire Awards are brought to you by the trustees of the HDSB. Program was initiated some 2.5 years ago, and we've had the pleasure of meeting and learning about wonderful people like yourselves. That concludes this message. Does it conclude this message? Awesome.
Okay, so I'd now like to call up Trustee Pappin, and I'd also like to call up Amanda Williams Yeagers. I'm so sorry. In her role as teacher librarian at John T. Tuck Public School, Amanda makes everyone at school feel safe, included, and empowered every day. She is an advocate for student learning through innovation and inquiry. Amanda strives to make each day at John T. Tuck Public School a day in which students feel appreciated, valued, and where they can obtain their best education possible through modernized and inclusive innovation. Students experience this education through the Makerspace, open and run by Amanda in the Learning Commons, in addition to the many other clubs and activities she oversees. Congratulations, Amanda. Okay, next I'd like to call up Trustee Collard and Tylene Rayumi. Tylene is a dedicated volunteer who wears many hats at Mohawk Gardens Public School and makes students and their well-being her top priority. When she is not spearheading ways to raise money for the school fun fair, music room instruments, or resources for the classroom, she is planning the school's 50th celebration or reading with students. Tylene knows every student by name, and her presence at Mohawk Gardens is felt daily by the teachers and students she helps. Tylene embodies true community spirit and strives to ensure families feel connected to the school and supported. The energy she brings to the school and her advocacy for students and families is greatly appreciated by the Mohawk Gardens school community. Congratulations.
Martha, why are you limping?
Next, I'd like to call up Trustee Chowdhury. And I'd also like to call up Marcia Sims-Luke. As a social worker at Craig Kilberger Secondary School, Marcia helps students through difficult times and continuously exemplifies compassion and empathy when assisting students. She works with all stakeholders to support student well-being and addresses each individual student's situation with the utmost care, concern, and immediacy. Students connect easily with Marcia because of her approachable nature, and she is frequently seen checking in with students in the hall. Fellow staff members look to Marcia for her expertise and professionalism, especially when it comes to mental health. Staff view her as an integral component of Craig Kilberger community who has touched and inspired many. Congratulations. I'd like to call up Trustee Amos, and I'd also like to call up Amanda Capillero. Amanda is a teacher at Odenawi Public School. Her leadership, warmth, compassion, and her effort to engage parents in their students' learning is valued by all families. Her capable, supportive, and thoughtful nature has assisted students who have shown behavioral challenges by seeking out opportunities to better understand their learning needs and determine ways to help them be successful. Her continuous advocacy for students is inspiring and has a positive impact on students and their families. Amanda challenges students, parents, and staff to determine ways to improve the student's experience. She builds student self-confidence, celebrates their successes, and inspires students to strive academically. Her commitment to supporting students with their mental well-being and overall health, confidence, academics, and development of skills inside and outside of the classroom helps students to see their value. Congratulations. Although there were no other Inspire Awards, we would like to continue to see nominations come in for people or organizations who support our students and their achievements. So you can always nominate people online. That's more for the people at home. Okay, so we have no delegations this evening, but we do have two presentations. The first is number 231, EQAO Highlights, Associate Director Bogue. Welcome to the front, along with Superintendent Salmini and Superintendent Hunt-Gibbons.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'm very happy to be here tonight with Superintendent Hunt-Gibbons and Superintendent Salmini to share with you some highlights of our EQAO results. And just for the public that are watching, our two superintendents are from our school program department. This is the summary slide that highlights our success in all different assessments. We shared this 2 weeks ago in private session before the information became public for trustees, so I won't spend much time here, except to say that this slide really shows that we pretty consistently outperformed the province by 6, 7, or 8 points on all assessments. And we've had pretty consistent results again this year, where we've dipped by 1. Usually the province has dipped by 1, where we've increased by 1. The province trends there tend to be about the same as well. Just some highlights that we will talk a little bit about as we work through the presentation today. I won't go through these now because there's a slide for each one, but we do have some best ever results, which is great news for us, and we'll talk about those in a moment. And then just some other points of that are noteworthy as well. Just for trustees' reference as well, we will highlight a few of the actual data pieces, but trustees have the full slide deck as well that was shared with you this afternoon if you haven't had a chance. So we'll just start with primary reading. This is one of those best evers, and you can see the trajectory here is up and to the right, which is what we like to see. The gap between us and the province, you can see that there as well, fairly consistent. And this is our highest score ever in primary reading, so a huge success. We'll move to junior reading here, and the graph looks kind of the same, but again, really great news. Again, our highest score in junior reading, I think we increased by one percentage point again. And that black line there is the province, so it shows that gap where we are continually outperforming the provincial average. Oops, went the wrong way. Junior writing, again, sorry for the sort of the similarity of all these graphs, but it does show again, our success in junior writing. Again, a highest score ever for junior writing. There is some work to do. And so here's math, and you can see math right across the province, the black line, much lower success rate than in reading and writing. Again, we've outperformed the province, but we're kind of flatlined there. And so that is an area of growth. And Superintendent Salmini will talk a little bit about that a little bit later. And we do have lots of things in the work to address that math concern, as do every other board across the province. In your full slide deck, you'll see this kind of breakdown for each assessment. I'll just highlight for you, our overall results is the red line, and this is just junior reading. It's an example of one assessment. You can see the girls outperform the boys, girls in green, boys in blue, and that's pretty typical for our junior and primary assessments in both reading and writing, and that's something that has been a bit historical. Overall, very, very good results in junior writing. But this slide is really meant to just show you that yellow line, which are students with special education needs. And this is an area of growth for us and an area of focus. So we keep working on this particular cohort, but we can see there that the gap remains substantial. So that's something that we continue to work on. I would say that that's an area across the province as well, but it's certainly one of our key pieces. And as trustees know, it's part of our multi-year plan. Grade 9 academic math, big results there. This has been historical where we have very good results in grade 9 academic math, over 90, I believe we're 91% this year, success rate. This slide just shows our comparison with a few other boards. We tend to compare ourselves with our coterminous board and other boards of similar demographics. This is just shown as an example. In this particular assessment, junior reading, it shows that we're sort of at the top of the boards that we tend to compare ourselves with. In your slide deck, you've got this kind of graph for every assessment, and you'll see that we're either first, second, or third in those boards, which is really great news for us. We continue to perform at a very, very high level. And before I turn things over to in the next slide, I just want to let trustees know we typically do some of that cohort analysis. Remember the pie graphs that show sort of value added? I just want to let you know you won't see as many of those slides in your full slide deck because if you recall, and this you can see it on this slide, 3 years ago we didn't have data across the board. And so moving from grade 3 to 6, when you've got a 3-year gap, we haven't got that cohort to compare from 3 to 6 or 6 to 9. There is cohort data analysis for grade 6 to 10 because we've got a 4-year gap there. So that's just for, if you're wondering, where are these other slides? We don't have the data because, of course, the assessment didn't happen in 2014-15.
So this slide here gives you some comparison data all in one place. And so if you look to the column on the left, it's the board data and compares to the previous year. And you'll note that we are plus or minus by 1 or 2 points across all 6 areas of the elementary assessment. In the middle, it's the provincial data, and it is the same trend, plus or minus a few points in either direction in all 6 areas. And to your far right is our comparison as a board to the province, and we're happy to note that there is a significant increase for us in comparison to the province, and that is a continuing trend in Halton.
And here you'll see a continuation of the same thing at the secondary level with the grade 9 applied and academic mathematics, and then the Ontario literacy test for the first time eligible students. And so, as has been mentioned, we continue to score above the province, and we continue to sort of mirror the province in those slight ups and downs. And at this point, that's where I would like to mention cohort size when we're dealing with the secondary school population. Because, and it is in greater detail in your package, trustees, but you'll recall, of course, that in Halton, the vast majority of students in grade 9 mathematics do take it at the academic level, so your sample size is closer to 4,000 students, whereas when we're talking about the sample size of the cohort writing in the grade 9 applied mathematics, we're talking about a sample size of about 600 students, and therefore we see greater swings when you have a smaller sample size. If we had shown the previously eligible Ontario literacy test results, which is again a very small sample, then you can see really large swings of up to 20% on those types of things.
We do have a very comprehensive literacy plan, and so we have a few highlights for you this evening. One of the things that we're really proud about is our Emergent Literacy Project, which is a joint project with school programs and student services, and it really focuses on young learners and their emergent literacy skills, provides opportunities for school teams, including all the kindergarten grade 1 educators, special education resource teacher, admin, to come out throughout the year for a year-long of learning where they're focusing on this piece and bringing it back to their staff. Monitoring strategies for student achievement, providing protocols and structures, as well as time for school staff to identify students of a concern that have learning needs, and then to monitor their progress and plan for their success, a very important piece of our literacy plan. We continue to focus on both leadership support and staff learning, professional learning opportunities, and have board, school, and self-directed learning opportunities for staff for their growth. And we also have a growing number of learning outside the school day opportunities to augment the learning that happens during the school day, and our hope is to continue those this year as well. In terms of the mathematics plan, we continue supporting students with learning disabilities in their math learning. That project has been a significant piece of our work, and we're continuing in that, are very proud of the work, and it spans elementary and transition to secondary as well, and we will continue with that. Some similar strategies to literacy would be the monitoring strategies, the learning outside the school day opportunities, and the staff learning and the leadership support. I will note, too, with mathematics, as it is an area of concern, that we know that it took us a while with our literacy plan. We stayed the course with our literacy plan, and as a result, we see the results in reading that we're seeing now. And so in terms of mathematics, we plan to do the same, and we're optimistic, and confident that we will get those scores up as well.
Similarly, at secondary, we have both a literacy and a mathematics plan. Our school literacy team support includes things like the practice literacy test analysis. We do not allow students to come cold to such a high stakes test, as it is a requirement for graduation. So practice literacy tests occur as opportunities in all of our schools, and then the analysis of said tests by staff, and then the opportunities for outside of the school day remediation by invitation to students. So it is a wraparound approach to try to maximize success on a very stressful day. Literacy support sections exist in targeted schools. We have some very specialized strategies. You've all heard about the applied strategy before. Book flood is another one I've explained here before, and where we really focus on our essential LEAP classes and applied. A lot of professional learning sunrise and sunset series before and after school. And this year we're focusing on a subsidy in teaching English language learners as an AQ course, an additional qualification, just so we try to maximize the number of educators who actually have this within their pedagogical toolkit to support those who are multi-language learners. In mathematics, we have a sum and all approach. So we have had a few years of the renewed math strategy from the ministry level, which where identified schools receive additional supports. That is in the form of teacher release, conferencing, resource support. But we also have our secondary math plan for all, which again is our applied learning strategy, the identification of transformational practices. So the province has helped us with this as well. We look to their research, ministry or provincial-wide on what's happened, but we look to our own changes in practice and identify those things like thinking classrooms and then offer sessions to support teachers in implementing those practices. We have UP Up Math projects, which is a one-to-one iPad support project that's geared for students who are achieving at a level 1 or 2, and then they take a Learning Strategies GLE or GLS course prior to their mathematics course in better preparation for that math course. And of course, as my colleague has already mentioned, we're very involved in partnering in that learning disabilities project, and we're in year 2 of this. So all of our secondary schools will have gone through this training with their feeder schools. And finally, how do we use this data? Well, we use it in a whole variety of ways on different levels. We use it on the individual student level, so all students receive feedback on their results. They know how they did. This helps support their learning. Parents are aware, teachers are aware. We use it at the school level, and the leadership teams in the elementary and secondary schools look at this specific to their own school populations. They look also at the attitudinal data that's provided as part of the feedback from EQAO, and they use it to set their goals and their improvement areas. And then finally, we use it as a system level. So certainly in K-12 program, we use it. We use it as part of the research department. We use it overall to plan for student achievement in well-being, and of course for budget and resource allocation. So, some people will call it standardized testing. We would never do so. We would say standards. It is based on the curriculum, so it's not an overlay, which would be a more American approach. So we very much use this data at all levels of education in Halton. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a speakers list growing, so Trustee Amos.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank you very much for this presentation. I always have mixed emotions around EQAO because I believe we do get some really good information from it, but I also believe there's a little bit of I'm not sure how to phrase it, but a falsehood to it, because I believe that from year to year the test varies, which I believe can cause that -2 drop that we've experienced this year, because the province experienced the same type of drop. On the other hand, I'm very happy to see that we are at the top of in the province, and the fact that we're doing all the things that we're doing right to support students. And despite the fact that we're the lowest funded school board in the province, we're still managing to make sure our students receive the best education they can. And so I'd like to thank you for all the programs you put in place to help reinforce the learning and to help support the students, such as the math and literacy coaches and all the different programs that you did mention, because I think they're all components that are helping our children learn better in different ways, because we all know they all learn in different ways. So I just like to say thank you. I mean, I still believe that we need a standard test, but I really don't like the standardized testing. So thank you. You said it very well.
Trustee Reynolds.
Thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate how you focused on how we use the data and how we reflect on it. And I think that's really important for the public to see. My question would be, what does the ministry do with this data? How does this inform them about the Halton District School Board? So in terms of the ministry, they would look province-wide in terms of offering supports to school boards in terms of support staff that may come out to work with us in school boards, resources they would provide, those kinds of things. We have also from the EQAO office, people that we can access that will come out to work with our staff to help them analyze the data, to help us create plans, all of those kinds of things. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. Yeah.
Okay, Trustee Chowdhury.
Thank you for that presentation. The question I have is that last slide that you showed us, which is the uses or how you can use the information. Is that anywhere available on the HDSB website? Or would that be an issue to post publicly?
It'll be available with this presentation, and certainly if trustees feel that that's a good graphic, we can probably find a place for that as well. It's how we use the data, so that there's nothing, there's no secret about it.
Confession, we have used that slide before.
Great. Through the chair, it's a great summary slide, so thank you.
Okay, since there's no one else on the speakers list, I want to thank you very much for this presentation. I mean, we are doing so well, and that's a testament to the work of all our staff and, of course, the students taking that information in and learning it. I really enjoyed the presentation, and you mentioned it's going to go online. Will it go online with a voiceover to help people understand it? We've got some great voiceover people sitting up there. I've heard you before. If that could, because it's always helpful for people if it's explained as well as going by. So
we will take that back. I think Superintendent Gibbons' voice would be wonderful as a voiceover. We'll take that under advisement. Thank you.
Yes, Director Miller.
Through you, Chair Drabens, I too would like to make a comment. I first of all want to thank the leadership of Associate Director Bogue, Superintendents Hunt Dibbins and Superintendent Salmini, and all their staff, and all our principals, vice principals, and teachers who make this happen. I don't think we can underestimate the significance of this. We are consistently in the top 3 in the province, and in some areas we're the top in the province. And it speaks well of the work that we do. I know sometimes we in public education are the subjects of criticism. I think the Halton District School Board consistently demonstrates that our students achieve at the highest levels comparative to their counterparts in the province, and I dare say the entire world. Ontario finishes in the top 5% of the entire world, and if you figure that Halton finishes in the top 1 or 2 or 3, which I haven't worked out what that percentage is, it's a pretty small percentage where Halton finishes. I think it's a great testament to the work of our staffs. And I mentioned teachers and principals, but I'd be negligent if I didn't mention our EAs and secretaries that work directly in the schools as well, and our corporate providing. So I think it's important to acknowledge this work. The trustees deal a lot with very difficult and weighty issues that are often controversial, but we cannot lose sight of the fact that our students perform at the highest levels. And we should be proud of that and celebrating that. And I think the entire Halton community should be doing the same. We have big issues that we have to deal with. Our special needs our students with special needs continue to lag, and the gap is unacceptable, and we're continuing to work on that to improve that. And we know other areas, other schools have particular challenges, but we're working hard to identify where we need to put more resources, more efforts to bring all our kids up to the same level. So thank you to everybody.
Okay, thank you. We are up to our next presentation, 232, PAR Implementation Update, Superintendent Blackwell. And I see you have some people with you. I see you have Vice Principal Carey, and I understand there are 2 students with you. If you could introduce them as well. Thank you.
I got to press the button, right? Oh, okay. I'm new to this, so thank you very much for having us here tonight, and we look really forward to doing this presentation. On my left is grade 12 student Ben Clarkson, and on my right is Shaja Najib, grade 12 student as well. Thank you.
I know that that you mentioned earlier, Chair, that this was the favorite part of the night, was the Inspire Awards. This is the favorite part of the second half of the night. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with showing you a little bit about the facilities, and I'm going to turn it over to the MM crew. This is a little video that shows some before and after pieces at MM Robinson over the summer, and it really speaks to the work of a large number of people, facilities department, business services. I know Mr. Carey's done some lifting back and forth with his truck too. So we'll just sit back and enjoy this for a second.
On the right-hand side is the picture of the bench and the Pearson logo. The bench was very important to the Pearson students. It's a symbol of their school. I know when the contractors tried to move the original bench, they weren't successful with doing it. So we were able to, or the contractor was able to replicate that bench with the parquet and the whole bit. And so it's been great because not only Pearson students, MM students are using that area now as a hangout to study and everything else. So it's in the back hallway that goes towards the cafeteria. So, and with the new cafeteria or food school being built, it'll be a well-used area. So the Pearson students were very happy to see that. So, yeah. I'm pinned down. It's not me.
We'll just blame you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shaz. We're getting very close here. Let's start again. There we go. Now it should.
Yeah. So I'm going to have a student perspective, obviously. I could talk all night, but I'm sure you guys would rather hear from the students. So Shaz is going to speak first.
I'll have to lean over and look at you.
So I'm going to talk about some of the changes at Robinson High School, and I'm going to start off talking about the general feeling of the school. I find that it's a very positive environment, and there's a lot of mingling that happens in between the classes, and I don't ever feel like there's a division between both of the schools. I'm glad I got the opportunity to make new friends at and get to know the school better. I also want to talk about the timetable situation. I know that's important to a lot of students and myself also. It's improved a lot, and there's so many more options and courses to choose from. I remember before I would always have to compromise, or I would always have course conflicts, but that does not seem to be the issue anymore, as well as experience new courses that help me. So when I go to university, I have an experience of different courses I get to take beforehand. I'm also going to talk about Lester B. Pearson student staff presence. As nice as it has been meeting all the new teachers, a lot of students were happy to see Lester B. Pearson staff, because for them it was a support system, and it was a great example for them to see that Pearson, if they were transitioning, there was someone there with them on the same journey. Thank you.
This slide is representative of our front foyer, and the front foyer has been rejuvenated, and it's a well-used area now. Every day there's a buzz in that area. Students are sitting in that area using the brand new tables we brought. We bought new high-top tables and charging stations, and it's really now a learning space. We have the e-learners that we have in the building are using that area all the time. Tonight when I left the building to go for supper around 5 o'clock, there was about 20 students still sitting down there just talking and hanging out. Some are on their laptops, so it's a well-used area. Ben?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit more about that. So it's a fantastic feeling place. Before there was kind of uncomfortable benches, everyone had to stand. Now there's a more comfortable lounge area for everyone. And one of the best things is for online courses. So especially for me, I have an online course. So our e-learning seminar on how to use e-learning courses was there in the foyer. Usually it's in the library, but it's fantastic that's in the foyer now. It's kind of a more comfortable modern area that we can sit and relax, and for most students do their online courses there. And just a fantastic environment, more comfortable, especially with like this little garden area we have too. It kind of doesn't make it feel too like suffocated. So it feels a lot more comfortable. Also, another thing I'd like to talk about is the announcements. So obviously with a lot more students and stuff, there's going to be longer announcements like that. So ways that communications is being improved, was improved at Robinson, is now they send out weekly email blasts to parents, I think, about a summary of stuff at Robinson that happened the past week, just so parents, and they can show their children too as well, so that they keep up with all the events at Robinson. Also, because the announcements are very long and sometimes it's difficult to catch the announcements, there's at the very upper part of the foyer, I'm not sure if it's in the photo, but in the very upper part, there's a board and it's updated daily about all the announcements at Robinson and everything that they need to keep up with, and in case students missed anything, that's where they can go. Also, the website too is now updated daily, so that they can keep up with all the events and everything happening at Robinson, so no one misses the announcement and then doesn't hear about something, so they can keep up to date.
Thank you. Also about the foyer, our teachers are using that area as a teaching area. We're doing currently we do a math science for grade 9s full year desemestered for all academic and applied. And they're doing very exciting things. We're calling it the engineering program now almost. And they're out there all the time, either dropping airplanes off the balcony and all that, but they're doing some fun, exciting things, and they're using that area. So it's become a real learning area rather than just a hangout. Another exciting thing was we had to order new bike racks. First day of school, we had 120 bikes. We went out there and counted them. And so kids are riding to school, which is amazing. So we actually put bike racks in different areas of the school. They were always out front, and now they're on the side and everything else. So, it's a lot of great things happening. And the picture on the left was our first PD day, and we held a staff luncheon, and it was amazing having 90 staff members sitting there talking and enjoying lunch, but just being excited about being in the building. It's me again. Obviously, I want to talk about transitioning and the sense of belonging in the building and building a sense of community. So obviously, we start with our grade 9s, and I know most schools have the link crew now, and so we start with our training on the very first day in August, or not in August, but right near Labor Day. Our grade 10s, 11s, and 12s came in for some training, and then our first day we had a delayed start. And the grade 9s came in, and we were out there high-fiving them as they came in a whole bit. And I know many of the superintendents and Mr. Miller came by the school that day, and it was an awesome day. Kids were excited to be there, and it was great. As I mentioned before, our science and math program, our year-long program now, it's a positive program because those students have a common teacher for the full year. So they're able to build the relationships with those students. And one of the first things that we did, it was September 20th. We took all the grade 9s on an overnight trip to the Toronto Science Center. So they were at school all day. The buses left at 4 o'clock. And they went down to the Science Center. They slept overnight there. They did some fun activities. They watched a big screen movie. They had pizza and the whole bit. And they came back the next morning around 11 o'clock. They were pretty tired. I'll be honest, not many 9s stuck around for the rest of the day. A lot went home. But it was great because the teachers were able to build some relationships outside the classroom as well. And it was very positive. Our grade 9 science math teacher sent a video. They emailed all the parents, and they sent home a video link introducing themselves. And they all did quirky things. One teacher rode across the front of the screen on a scooter with a hockey helmet on and just introduced himself. And I believe that's on our website now. We thought it was a great thing to do. And it builds relationships with the parents as well. And hey, now I know who Mr. Tolton is, or who Miss Johns is and all that. So it's a positive thing about building a sense of community. The next thing that we did, we didn't want to leave the rest of the school out, so we did a choose your own adventure. And this is for all the rest of the students in the building. And students were able to choose from a variety of activities that they could pick their own field trip. We had the corn maze, which I was blown away. We had 110 students choose to go to the corn maze, which is amazing. And sorry? Yeah. And, we had treetop trekking. We had kids going to the high ropes, zip lining at MAC. We had jet boating. We had kids going to the Forensic Science Center in Toronto again. We had kids go to Stratford to go see a play. So we had something for almost everyone, I would believe. And for those students who didn't feel comfortable going on a field trip, we also ran activities at the school to continue to build that sense of community. We had, sorry, I just got to look at my notes, make sure I call it the right thing. Yeah, executive functioning workshop. So we invited parents to come in as well. We had about 15 parents show up. And we had the IPL from the board come in, do a workshop, talk about building skills and things like that. And then we had the Autism Job Club program come in as well to speak to the parents and to the students to talk about employability skills and what's it like out in the having a job. And they brought in former MM students who actually talked about their pathways. A boy with autism in university, another one was in a college, and another one was working. So they talked about their own experiences. So the parents really appreciated that. And then in the afternoon, for those students, we brought in one of those video trucks. and video game trucks. So they actually played video games, but in a positive way. What they did was we had the students team up, and they had to play different people throughout the afternoon. So they actually built their own little community. And now some of those kids are actually hanging out with one another now. So, it was a really positive thing.
So I can talk a little bit about this. So here on the website is a link to all the clubs and teams this year at Robinson. So yeah, we can try the link. So basically, it's a very extensive list, especially compared to last year. So with all the new students, we're able to run a lot more clubs. And obviously with more teachers, there's more teachers to run the clubs. So there's a lot more clubs, teams, there's a lot more stuff to do at Robinson. Another reason why the announcements are longer. So yeah, there's fantastic. This is not the complete list too. This is just the beginning list of all the stuff that's guaranteed. But a lot of times what happens is students will go up to teachers and stuff like that to discuss future clubs and teams. Like I know there's a couple students that went up to Ms. Proto, the principal, and asked her about a ping pong team. Since a lot of students were interested in that, and there's a lot of interest surrounding it now, so it looks like there's going to be a ping pong team. Since there's a big section of the MMR community that's very interested in that particularly. So it's great with all the new students that there's a lot of ability to do things. And especially, like I was on the debate team, and especially last year we only had 4 people when we didn't merge with Pearson. Now this year we have close to 15 people. So last year we weren't able to participate in some of the stuff in some of the tournaments because our team was too small to participate. But now that we have a much larger team, we're able to go to events and different stuff like that in order to participate, and so we can really have a lot more fun with each of the clubs and teams.
Just an update. For the fall, we have over 160 athletes playing on fall sports. So last year, I think we had about 90. So it's a real positive thing right now. We've done, in my opinion, we've done a great job with building a sense of belonging and building our community. But with this integration, as Shaza had said before, there's more opportunities for courses and things like that. But another big thing is there's been a lot of opportunities for our staff now, and they've really have run with it as an opportunity for change, and they're open and they're trying different things. Our first PD day, staff could sign up for various workshops on what they self-interest, and we're going to continue this Friday with it. And it's self-directed with us, with some of our leads. But we're looking at how to change their practice, and they're open to different things. Talking about Google exams, using IT for good, sharing apps, how to improve your practice in the classroom. We're talking about relative industry. So industry is changing all the time. So are we meeting those needs of our students to make sure that they're up to date? So the teachers are going to be looking at improving their practice that way. Cross-course partnerships. I talked about the math and science already. We're also looking at an arts, right? Cross-curricular with our arts program, our English program with the arts. Critical thinking, how to ask good questions. We're doing a book study on the book on power, right? Also classroom environments. We've supported our staff. Our staff asked for different type of desks now, so they're almost like a whiteboard desk where students can write on the desk and then wipe them off. I know when we had the group of our trustees and parents a couple weeks ago, there's socks hanging from the boards, and what are the socks? What the socks are? It's for the kids to wipe off the desk, and as they're writing things down, so they're using it all the time. So we're changing the classroom environment as well. So lots of positive things, and the staff have really run with it, and it's going to improve student achievement. So it's been real positive. That's it.
Thank you so much. We do have a speakers list. So we'll start with Trustee Oliver.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Well, first of all, Superintendent Blackwell, your team, I want to congratulate you on a wonderful job done in the transition that was made with the 2 schools. Definitely very thoughtful and respectful amalgamation and integration of the 2 schools and their unique cultures. And I'm grateful to Vice Principal Carey for the work that you are doing in making this happen and bringing the two communities together with your team of staff. I appreciate the enhancements that have been made to the Community Pathways program area. And there's been a lot of wonderful renovations done to the building and the outdoors as well, as was evidenced in the slideshow. And I'm really gratified to hear about the realization of what this amalgamation was all about. And that was to enhance students' academic experience and opportunities. So I'm very pleased to hear from students themselves that they now have access to a range of courses and programs that they would not otherwise have. And also extracurricular activities, which is very important for student well-being and engagement in the school. So very happy to hear about that. And one other thing, you know, it's great to hear that only 1 month into the new school year, Vice Principal Carey can already identify that there's also a positive impact for staff in their ability to renew and refresh their own practices and build their team and get more innovative and creative and have more opportunities for sharing of their skills and resources and learning from each other. So congratulations to everybody, and I'm very pleased for you.
Trustee Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you to Superintendent Blackwell, Mr. Carey, Shaza, and Ben for coming out today. Mr. Carey was actually my vice principal when I was at Nelson in grade 9, so it's very nice to see him again. I am extremely happy to hear how well this amalgamation has went. I know there were some tensions in the beginning, but I'm so glad that that the two communities have come together and formed such a beautiful network together. And I am very, very happy that Ben and Shaza came out tonight, because I may give and Kevin may give a report every time we have a board meeting, but it's because of students like you that we have true leadership in the board. So I just want to give a special shout out and thank you very much for all the work that you've done to make this a huge success.
Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much. I would like to echo Trustee Oliver's comments. What I was impressed with when I saw the presentation here today was the feeling of true student success and support, all the way from the transitioning into MM Robbins to the current day and the practices that are going on in the school. The fact that everybody has been invigorated by this blended community is a very, very positive step forward. And I particularly like the comments that you had with regards to the choices in curricular and in extracurricular activities. I think that again bodes for students being highly engaged, being able to get the courses of their choice at the levels that they would require them at. And all of this would then conclude that the students would be able to be happier and more successful in their secondary school experience. So thank you very, very much, and congratulations to everybody that's involved. And I wish everyone continued success as we move through this first semester and on into second semester this year. Thank you.
Trustee Pappen.
Thank you, through you, Chair Benz, to our esteemed guests. I want to thank you for your excellent report, and I'm glad to see the transition has gone so well, especially for the Pearson students. I know, that was a bit of a challenge, and the unknown out there was hard to imagine what it would be like. I know that there's a course that was offered this year that wasn't able to be offered in the last 10 years at either MM Robinson and Pearson, so it's really good to see that the kids are getting some courses that they weren't able to get before. But my question to you is about the traffic around the intersection. I know there were some concerns from parents in the first few weeks, and I just wondered if it's resolved itself, or anybody who would like to answer.
I know my parents hate it. Like, they always drop me off at 14. It's like, oh, you can walk like the rest. Yeah, it's a little bit of a wait. Yeah, I think because there's so many students now and everyone kind of comes in the same time frame that everyone has to wait, and the traffic, the parking lots as well, they're pretty full. Do you know if we're gonna take the actions forward to?
You mean underground parking?
Yeah.
No, there will not be underground parking. Well, and we have some shared facilities for parking, so we haven't seen days, we've had days in the past where, before the amalgamation, where we haven't been able to find parking spots, but that hasn't come up as an issue. I know that was something we were monitoring. And with respect to traffic, I know that there has been, the city have put a crossing guard in the morning to ensure that students were safe and walking across. And we see kids that, as we always have, walk across that intersection at lunchtime and go and get some food and come back. But we've heard nothing that's concerning at this point.
Follow-up? I know that at one time, MM Robinson was the biggest school in the region of Halton. So I think you can solve this problem. I mean, at one time there were 1,500 kids there. So thank you.
Through you, Chair Events, there was 1,800 at one point at MM Robinson.
Okay, seeing no one else, I would like to say a few things. I've been involved with the sort of the process for quite a while, and I was really happy to be on the tour a couple of weeks ago to see how things are going. I had met Chaza before and Ben as well, and they took me on the tour, and great things happening all over the place. And what I loved seeing, of course, the innovation and the good spirit going on, the new modular types of furniture that you can rearrange in whatever ways you like, so that the classroom can form into whatever you need it to be. But what I really like is the focus on student voice. Student voice has been so huge in this entire process, and it's been there since the beginning. What do the kids want? What do the kids need? And I think we've met that. And I think in ways we've exceeded their expectations. I was really impressed with some of the ideas, the choose your own adventure. What adventures did you two take?
I went on the hike.
On the hike?
Yeah.
And Ben?
I went to the corn maze.
And to the corn maze. And I hear it was great. And I understand that people didn't stick with their cliques to go to these things, which was fantastic. I know kids that went on, that normally hang out together. One went on the jet boat. One went on the treetop trekking. Another one went to Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like they didn't stay together. They wanted to meet new kids. They wanted to meet the Pearson staff and the other way around. And I think it was just a really great success. And I want to congratulate the students and the staff, and of course, at the higher level, for doing all this work to make sure that students feel comfortable and that they're going to be successful in this whole endeavor. And I look forward to seeing how those learnings that we're taking from the process and move them to the next school that we have to do this process to, because I'm sure there's been many learnings, and we're always looking to improve what we do around here. So again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you actually again with a future update if possible. Okay.
I'm actually not finished, but I am going to excuse the MM group because I am going to update on the other parts of the PAR, but I'd like to thank Ben and Shaza and, of course, Vice Principal Carey for their time this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I actually had Ben when I was a vice principal at Rolling Meadows, so he's much taller now. So in terms of the rest of the PAR update, what I'd like to do is quickly go over, and the trustees have a copy of this presentation. We will post it. We had made a commitment to monitoring, and one of the things that didn't come out of the presentation was that you know, this process is continuing at Robinson, and we have made a commitment to continue monitoring. We had worked extensively with ensuring that our students that may have had the greatest needs were supported, and ensuring that they are connected to a caring adult at Robinson, and we are monitoring those students individually. We also have a follow-up integration meeting coming up in November. The committee will come back together and look at some of the processes that we used, as you talked about, Chair Gerbent, in our process, and what could we do differently and better. And also, Principal Proto has reached out to our research department, and there will be a continued student voice collection to hear from all students. You've heard from 2 this evening, but an opportunity to hear from all students and get some perspective on things that we could do better, because we know that kids have great ideas. So that's something that we will be doing. In front of you, you have 8 things that we had committed to. This is from the PAR report in terms of monitoring. We talked a little bit at the first, actually I think it was the very first day of school or second day of school, about how many kids had moved from Pearson to MMR. You'll see that these are very detailed charts. You'll see that the extended French program, it's a small program to start anyways, but all but 3 students moved from from Pearson to in the extended French program. And if you look at the English program, and we're only looking at 9s from last year that moved to 10, 10s to 11, 11 to 12. We do know that some kids come back for a 12-plus year, but we're not considering that in our total. You'll see that in the chart for English enrollment, where it says other HDSB, we know that students in grade 11 may choose a regional program. They might choose a SHISM or an OEAP. And you'll see there are probably about 8 kids in total that have moved to other schools, but there's a significant 86% of the kids in the English program have continued on to Robinson. And we track that data for all of our students. This is very hard to read, but I'll try to summarize what it says. We were also looking at how are we tracking French immersion from grade 8 to grade 9. And just in terms of, this is the Robinson, these are the Robinson feeder schools. We had already had French immersion in grade 9 at Robinson, and one of the things in the PAR was looking at trying to alleviate some of the pressures of French immersion enrollment at Hayden. And we know that that program is now only grade 11 and 12 this year at Hayden and will be phased out. You'll see that on the left there are 2 schools, 2 charts, John William Boych and Rolling Meadows. Last year, from grade 8 to grade 9, there was actually an increase in percentage of students that have gone to Robinson. We know that Alexander's, Charles R. Baudouin, and Orchard Park, there was a decrease. It's not something that we didn't expect in the first year of implementation. It's something we've committed to monitoring. I think it's important to know that this French immersion grade 9 program has 83 students in it, and that is a very healthy grade 9 program. Comparatively, we have a school in the South, Nelson, has 54 students in their grade 9 program, which is still a very robust program. But we know that Principal Proto is very good at sharing the great things that are happening in Robinson. And one of the things that she articulated last year, she couldn't do everything. She's made a commitment to really ensuring that that Robinson is highlighting the opportunities in the French program at and she's going to be on tour with the grade 8 families and grade 7 families for the upcoming course selections and school selections. The French immersion enrollment at Aldershot and Burlington Central, again, we committed to monitoring them, and we've done this for all of our French immersion schools. We know that we have similar situations in our Oakville schools around French immersion, where we have schools where we had a high percentage of students transferring from grade 8 to grade 9, and some schools where we don't. So this is part of what we do on an annual basis as well. New courses, I know that Ben, I called him Sophie, it's his sister's name, that Ben spoke to the courses as well as Shaza, and you'll see that in this slide, again, I don't expect that you're counting them all. 4 students that were at last year, or the course selections, there were 15 new course options for students and 2 regional programs. For former LBP students, there are 28 new course options and 7 regional programs, and that's the 2 columns in the middle. And then for all students, there are 14 new course options. So this is, as the students spoke to, it's an amazing array of courses. We also talked a little bit, and Chair Gerbent talked a little bit about the successes in our integration work last year and working with the Pearson and the MM communities. One of the things that we heard from students prior to that was kids really wanted to enjoy their school year at their school. And we've had, I mentioned this last year, we have an integration committee that will be set up for Robert Bateman and Nelson, as well as one for Robert Bateman and Central. Right now, the students that are in both of those schools, the grade 11s and 12s, will not even be impacted by the change. They're continuing in their school. So to start that process now is much too early. We've heard that from students. We've heard it from the feedback of staff that we've worked with. And we've also said that we will be starting a commitment to those integration committees next year and that year prior to the school closure at Bateman. Most boards across the province make decisions in March, April, and kids are moving in September. That still gives us an entire year of great work to happen, and you saw some of that evidence tonight. The other thing that has started, though, we have made a commitment. We have staff that are already working and shared between the schools. So we have a staff member at Robert Bateman that is working with Burlington Central. Her name is Jennifer Bright. She's running the IB program, and she is helping with that transition because the grade 9 program for IB is next year. And we also have a teacher at Robert Bateman. Her name is Megan Morwart, and she has centrally been working around our LEAP and Essentials program, and she's working with both schools, Robinson and Nelson, in preparation for their new programs and welcoming those programs for the fall. We know that staff are connecting already within those 3 schools, and they've in their program areas, and they reach out, and it's great that we have technology because they've already created opportunities, and that's to bring in opportunities to visit each other's schools. The second part of the Nelson update, I think I forgot to mention there's a new principal at Nelson, Paul Daniel. So I mentioned that earlier on, but he is there right now, and he's getting to know the staff, and he knows, I see Connor nodding his head. He's also worked with our facility staff in Georgetown around multiple construction projects there, so he's very versed in working on the ongoing construction while the school is occupied. So what does that look like? This year in Nelson, and these are updated from the last drawings that were brought to the board. They're probably from about April, so there are some changes. The areas that are in red is work that's being done this year, and you'll see that there are additions that are happening. So Central, right in the middle, you'll see on the left is the first floor, on the right is the second floor. First floor, there is not a cafeteria this year at Nelson High School. Kids are eating in the library and other places. They've got plans in place, and that was something that they worked on last year. They're getting a new cafeteria. They are getting a new food school, and they are also getting an area similar to the Pangea, which was at Robert Bateman, in which there's a full-service area for students. On the second floor, there's a new library being built and a causeway. At the front of the school, on the left, the 2 rectangles that are on the left-hand side, and one looks like it's split. There's a new fitness area and a cosmetology area that's being built, and at the front, at the very back, is some manufacturing. So that's ongoing work this year, and it is not impacting what's happening in the schools. So there was some demolition work over the summer, and much of that stuff has started in terms of the building. Next year, there will be library renovations, and when I say next year, probably the day after school starts or ends, optimizing the summertime. Library renovation in the top of the top of the bottom of the left-hand side. It is the current library area that will be converted into a brand new community pathway program area. We know that the elevator is being renovated, and we had discussions around that in terms of the size of it, and it is being expanded to a full-size elevator, and there are also some tech spaces that are being renovated. So there's a lot of work happening over the next 2 years. And then finally, I'd like to just bring you up to speed on the iSTEM program that's happening at Aldershot. Again, we are fortunate to have the year to work on this program and develop the program. You'll see on the left-hand side, the trustees, you have a draft brochure. It's not what it will look like when it's nice and glossy and printed. Compliments of our communications department. Over the summer, we worked and looked at the course options for the iSTEM program. You'll see a 4-year course of study. 13 courses will be required to take within that program, and students will graduate with a STEM certificate. One of the things that you'll notice is you don't see applied and you don't see academic. And the reason for that is because the program is open for college or university-bound pathways, and you'll see that in some of the options where it says, let's look at grade 10, one of grade 10, computer science, computer engineering, or technological studies, that really opens up opportunities for students to explore whatever pathway they choose. On the right-hand side, you'll see logos, and these logos represent a lot of work in terms of partnerships and an advisory group that we have working with us. We've got some great connections happening. Many of the Aldershot staff were at McMaster University this morning. Throughout the day, we're involved in a first-year engineering course looking at design thinking and working with 2 professors from McMaster. They're actually coming and doing a full-day workshop on Friday with the Aldershot staff. There's also staff learning that happened over the summer with project-based learning. The staff is very committed in terms of working with some of the partners. We have this advisory group coming together end of next week, and we've made some great connections and have some opportunities for our staff. STEM information evening. So if you would like the more detailed version of what I'm saying right now, the iSTEM information open house will be Tuesday, November 13th. That will be hosted at Aldershot High School. We also will be sharing a session at the PIC conference, which is next Saturday. Great opportunity, and also working with our school program staff in terms of getting the information to our grade 7 and 8 parents. This is a regional program, and it's open to any student in Halton or beyond. And so we need to ensure that we're getting the message out to all students, as well as that will be listed in our guide to secondary school. And some of the information that I'm referring to is on the postcard. We have a postcard. I had it here somewhere. This is what will be put in backpacks of all grade 7 and 8 students. It's really just to draw attention to the open house and get families to come out. We will tape that event, so if people are not able to attend, that will be available for them. And then the brochure is available that has more course option information. We also have a website set up that has frequently asked questions, and Carrie Sagar is a teacher at Aldershot High School who has been released for some of her time this year to get this program going and create some of the learning opportunities for the program. She still has teaching responsibilities, so she's able to work with instructional program leaders, Cindy Cosentino in science and Nicole Jarvis in math, to really do some leadership and instructional leadership on that program. And she's also running the Twitter account right now. So if you're not following iSTEM, the Twitter account, it is on there. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, so I have a speakers list. Trustee Collard.
Thank you. My questions are regarding the impact on the numbers at Hayden. I know we were hoping to see a greater reduction in the number of students at Hayden, and I recognize that about half the kids that were in FI decided to move to English program, and I'm assuming that they are in English program at Hayden, which means that that's about 3 classes worth of students that are at Hayden that we were expecting to remain in FI and go to Robinson. So I am still concerned about the over-enrollment at Hayden, and I'm wanting to know what next steps we might be taking to encourage students to remain in a program that they have been dedicated to for a number of years. We don't want students to demit a program simply because of location. If that is something that they value, we want them to be able to finish in that program. So I'd like to know what next steps we might be taking.
So through the chair to Trustee Collard, we too have looked at the data. We also looked at the historical data. We know that we have one school, for example, Alexander's, where we have a fair number of students not attending English program at Hayden, but attending English program at Corpus Christi. And that's something that has happened for quite a while. We are looking at the French immersion numbers to see if it is a viable program and to promote that program and put all our efforts into showing that that is a viable program. We do know that we anticipated that we would see a dip in the first year. As I mentioned earlier, we have great confidence in the reputation that is being built at Robinson right now and the program that is being offered, and also the strategic plan that Claire Proto, the principal, has in terms of marketing that French immersion program and having families understand that this is a great opportunity. I mean, just an example might be even to look at the most recent EQAO results. Robinson's math results were very, very strong. So they have some really good opportunities and great teaching staff there. So I think it'll come with some awareness.
Thank you.
Trustee Harvey Hope.
Thank you. I like this brochure. I just wondered about the blue bus on the back. I'm assuming, since it's blue and not yellow, that it is a Burlington Transit route, perhaps? And if that is the case, because those of us in my part of the world would have to be taking the GO Transit, or else you'd never get to school. Just wanted to make sure I understand if people are interested in heading from East Oakville. Aldershot GO train would be the way to get to that building.
Through the chair to Trustee Harvey Hope, one of the things that will be on the website is the directions. This is a very small brochure, so it will say from the east and from Oakville, from Halton Hills, from Georgetown, and provide routes so that families know how they can get there and be more specific. I think the bus is staying blue for this version of the...
I agree it should be blue, but I'm just saying it might be better to, if it is a Burlington Transit, instead of saying bus route, maybe it could be Burlington Transit route. I mean, people, understand that, and that's fine, and I've actually been down there, and I understand it's not very far. So it's just that not because of the option being for people in Ward 3 and Ward 6, for instance, it would be things like, are you going to White Oaks, where you have to find your own transportation, or are you taking the school bus to an AP, or are you going to go to the ISTEM at Aldershot? So just knowing the actual, making it very clear that it's transit, so that we don't wait one specialized program option than another.
We'll clarify that on the website.
Trustee Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to comment on the construction going on at Nelson. In the beginning, before the school year started, I had a tour with Mr. Daigneault around the school, and I got to see the courtyard, which has now been expanded because we have no cafeteria. But I was surprised that students really took a positive approach when looking at the construction. Before the first day of school, they had put a white mural to block off access to the cafeteria, and they painted on a beautiful set of wings, and it said, "Live Nelson Strong," or something along those lines. So I'm really happy that the students are taking such a positive outlook about the construction, as well as it really hasn't been a distraction to my personal experience in the school so far. So I just want to thank you because this construction project is going so well so far.
Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much through the chair. We're also very excited about the iSTEM project and this program coming to Aldershot. Early on in the planning for this, we talked about promoting this beyond the borders within the Halton School Board. What are the current plans to market this outside?
So through the chair to Trustee Gray, we have a communications plan developed through our communications department, including reaching out to social media. I know that our communications department, their Twitter ads have gotten some great traction. Some of the partners that we're engaged in, some of the professors that at McMaster, they're sharing that information. We have, obviously, we're going to put newspaper ads out, old school, but we're going to try and promote that as well. And then we do have, as I mentioned, partnerships. And it's interesting, Bonnie Schmidt, who is the president of Let's Talk Science Canada 2067, contacted me this morning to say that the Globe and Mail had contacted the organization who promotes STEM education nationally. And Bonnie asked if she'd be okay if she spoke to the Aldershot iSTEM program in the Globe and Mail. And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. So that article is coming out, but there's a buzz and we're getting lots of questions. We also have an email address as well that people can ask us questions. Anyone that wants to promote that as well in your communities, feel free to provide the website address.
Director Miller?
Through your chair to events to Trustee Gray. We have to be cognizant of the boards surrounding us in terms of trying to attract students from, say, Hamilton Wentworth or Toronto. That we're not overt in terms of going out and trying to recruit their students. For obvious reasons, we would not be pleased if they were doing that to us. But all those vehicles that Superintendent Blackwell talked about, I think is how kids get information anyway with social media. So it is a little bit delicate to do too much outreach beyond the borders of Halton. So,
Trustee Harvey Hope.
Just to follow up through that, through you, Madam Chair. Even within Halton, though, we have a preponderance of private schools that are trying to meet a need of differentiated learning and different styles of learning and those kinds of things. So there is more than enough students that are not currently students of the Halton District School Board or the Halton Catholic District School Board that could be the target of, gee, why don't you try this, those kinds of things. So I think we've got a pretty deep well to manage. I know we've often in Ward 3 had a concerted effort to try and hit the grade 8 parents in all of these different private schools that we have in order that they at least understand what their options are. Here, this is the free program. So we've often made sure that people understand that their choices are Oakville, Trafalgar, or White Oaks, and Aldershot, and all these different schools, and all the schisms that are in different places that we may not have locally. So again, getting the information out and making sure that the grade 8 kids are getting that information so that there's a pull to say, Mom, I want to go, Dad, I want to go look at this school.
Okay, that's exhausted our speakers list. Thank you again. I won't repeat my speech from earlier, but those were some great presentations we've had. That wraps up our presentations, and now we're up to our consent agenda items. Do we have any consent agenda items that require pulling? Sorry. You going back on, Trustee? Okay. Nope, looks good. Okay, so I'm going to put the motion on the floor. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the consent agenda action items and receive the information items for October 3rd, 2018. Moved by Trustee Amos, seconded by Trustee Reynolds. Is there any discussion at all? Seeing none. All those in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, now we are up to our ratification action items. Vice Chair Harrison, do we have any business from private session that requires approval?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do. But I'll need a second to pull myself together here. Okay. 1 second, please. We have 5 items. Yes, that we'll be bringing. In very short order, we'll be doing that.
We're having some technical issues. Just hold a moment. Trustee Chowdhury?
Madam Chair, may I suggest a 2-minute bathroom break?
That is a great idea. I'm going to call a recess, and if everybody could be back in 5 minutes, that would be great. Thank you very much. Vice Chair Harrison, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, and my apologies for the delay. We have a number of motions this evening. Motion number 1, be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve recommendation 1 with respect to property matters, October 3rd, 2018, from private session report 18-128 revised. And I so move. Seconded by Trustee Amos.
Okay, is there any discussion at all? Seeing none, all those in favor? Trustee Reynolds? Thank you very much. That passes unanimously.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Oh, it didn't? Oh, it should have? Did someone? Oh, okay. That did not pass unanimously? Did you? Oh, I can't.
Let me go back. I can go back and check it. Summer, can we go back and check that vote? Yep.
This is an evening full of twists and turns, very much excitement. I have to say we're keeping the studio audience on their toes.
Okay.
I vote yes.
Excellent. That passes unanimously. Vice Chair Harrison.
Okay, onwards. Item 2. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve recommendation number 2 with respect to property matters from October 3rd, 2018, from Private Session Report 18128 revised, and I so move. And that is seconded by Trustee Chowdhury.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay. Item 3. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve recommendation number 3 with respect to property matters from October 3rd, 2018, from Private Session Report 18128 revised, and I so move. And that is seconded by Trustee Chowdhury. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On to number 4. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve recommendation number 4 with respect to property matters from October 3rd, 2018, from Private Session Report 18128 revised. And I so move, and seconded by Trustee Amos.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is our 5th and final item. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve recommendation number 5 with respect to property matters on October 3rd, 2018, from Private Session Report 18128 revised, and I so move. Seconded by Trustee Amos.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, we are now up to action items for this evening. Trustee number 421, Trustee Expense Policy, Report 18131. Director Miller.
Thank you, Chair Drabence. This trustee expense policy was posted on the board's website for 25 days. It's now completed, so it's for action tonight. There were no comments received.
Okay, so I'm going to read the recommendation. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the trustee expense policy as appended to Report 18131, moved by Trustee Collard, seconded by Trustee Pappen. And I do see Trustee Collard on the speaker list. Go right ahead.
I just wanted to thank trustees for their input to the changes to this policy. It's more clear and transparent for the public now, and I just wanted to express my appreciation.
Great. Seeing no one else on the speakers list. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, now we are up to communications to the board. First off is item 5.1, student trustee reports. Student trustee, or trustee clerk, do you have a report for us?
I do. I just have to find it off my desktop. It is one of those nights. Yeah. Thank you. So unfortunately, Trustee Mang was not able to attend this meeting, so I'm going to be doing our report solo. So basically, we are going to outline the first Student Senate meeting we held on September 25th. Just a personal remark, it was outstanding. I don't want to toot my own horn, but it was fantastic. I think we had a really good turnout. Students were really engaged, and I think we started making some decisions that really dictate where the Student Senate wants to go as an organization. The minutes were distributed to trustees last week. I think I sent it to everyone. So if you have any questions at the end, please feel free to ask. I'm just going to go over some of the motions that we passed as a Student Senate last week. So one of our first motions was we wanted to divide the meeting into 3 sections. The elementary school section from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, the joint session from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and the secondary section from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That was at first contradictory to what Trustee Meng and I proposed to the Student Senate at first, where we had a Student Senate meeting 3 hours altogether. We will listen to the Student Senate proceed and the split format. Our second motion was, be it resolved that the Student Senate direct the student trustees to change the number of student senators positioned for secondary schools with populations in excess of 1,500 students to 3 positions to allow for more proportionate representation of schools with larger populations. And that passed with both elementaries and secondaries being in favor. The next motion was, be it resolved that the Student Senate direct the student trustees to change elementary school student senators positions to 2 with schools in excess of 1,000 students. And unfortunately, that did not pass. The Student Senate did not vote in favor of that, so they would like every elementary school to have 1 student senator. So that is what direction we are going to take. And lastly, the Student Senate directed the student trustees to create a plan to hold Student Senate meetings online for later approval, and that passed. So Trustee Meng and I will look into an online format for meetings. Just to follow up, many student senators had questions about facilities. So in response to that, we've asked Superintendent Puccetti to come and do a Q&A session with the Joint Student Senate session and our next meeting on October 23rd. Next, our executive committee nominations are due tomorrow on October 4th, and positions are available for secondary students. Non-executive committees of the Student Senate were not able to be formed due to the amount of discussion we had in the first meeting, with our motions taking up a majority of the time and our student trustee question period that followed. So one of the things we'll be doing is assembling our committees of the Student Senate during the next meeting. What we're looking forward to in the October Student Senate meeting, which will be held on October 3rd from 6 to 9, being split into 3 sections. 23rd. October 23rd, just to be clear. We are looking forward to having Superintendent Puccetti come and do a question period, as well as student trustee question period, where most student senator questions are about facilities. So we're happy that she's going to come and represent the staff for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Trustee Clark? Well, I just want to say that it seems like you got a lot done in that meeting. And, congratulations on having it move forward, so many things to move forward. So we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda. We are up to action items for October 17th. First is number 521, Community Planning Partnerships, Report 18123 on page 16 of your board package. Manager Renzella, welcome, and Superintendent Veerman.
Good evening, everyone. Before you this evening is a report regarding the identification of community planning and partnership opportunities. As most of you are aware, with the exception of Trustee Chowdhury, who is new this year, we are required through our policy to identify community planning and partnership opportunities as per the board policies. And again, the policy outlines the procedure with respect to opportunities in open and operating schools for partnerships, also co-build opportunities for proposed new schools, and looking at underutilized schools that may be impacted by closure, and sites that may be considered for future disposition. And typically what we do is, and we've done it again this year, is that we provide all our community partners listed in our policies, the long-term accommodation plan, which was approved by the board on June 30th. And these partners have an opportunity to review the plan, look at what's out there, and provide feedback regarding the LTAP. And it gives them some time to understand what is happening in the region. Now, as well, the LTAP is used to identify facilities that are suitable for community partnerships, and for unused space in schools and that are not declared surplus. And as well, the policy identifies the criteria in selecting these community partnerships. With respect to surplus space, i.e. schools that are closed or will be closed, it's kind of a separate process, and we would have to follow the requirements as outlined in Ontario Reg 4498. Since our last public meeting, which was November the 8th of last year, of which only 11 people attended, the board has implemented a number of partnerships, and I just wanted to highlight some of them. One of the ones the most recent one was that a partner with the town of Halton Hills and the development of a community youth hub at the Gary Allen Wigglesworth campus. And so that is in the process of being finalized in terms of some hard surfaces in terms of works and whatnot. So the renovation is ongoing and hopefully will be completed shortly. As well, the board completed the Harrison Public School retrofitting of 2 classroom spaces to accommodate the Woodview Mental Health and Autism Services Group. In the fall of 2018, we'll open Halton's first early on child and family center at Oakwood Public School, where 2 empty classroom spaces were converted. And we will also be opening at the new Viola Desmond School once it opens an early on center. That's going to be operated by the Milton Child Resource Center. And moving forward, Frontenac Public School will be accommodating the relocation of the child care facility located at Robert Bateman High School, and that will result in approximately 3 classrooms being renovated. We're still kind of ironing out the details on the renovation in terms of the actual space, but the intention is to have it start sometime in the spring of 2019 with completion of the fall of next year. And again, Brant Hills has converted 3 empty classrooms to accommodate the Lester B. Pearson Co-op Nursery School, and this new child care space is scheduled to open for October 1st of this year. I should point out that all these planning partnerships kind of was a result of funding from the province. Anything else and any other partnerships, no one has indicated any interest because, again, the issue is money. And we're able to succeed in these partnerships because of provincial funding. Nevertheless, we still have to move forward and identify opportunities for sharing unused space in schools. The report identifies 3 schools, elementary schools, that have unused space based on the criteria. That's Ryerson Public School, Tecumseh Public School, and Oakwood Public School, and 2 secondary schools, Acton District and T.A. Blakelock. There will also be there's also co-build opportunities. Again, this is all dependent on the funding from the province, but as per LTAP, there's we do have the Milton Southwest number 11 public school where we have received funding. We have the Oakville Southwest number 1 public school in the event of program and accommodation review. We also have identified in our LTAP the Oakville Northeast number 3 public school where we have not received any funding approval. And as well, we have the Oakville Northeast number 1 high school as a potential opportunity. And again, as another co-build opportunity, depending how things progress is the proposal of a new board admin center. I know that is still up for debate at this point in time, but it's still on our list as a potential out there if there's any interested community partners. Again, we've entered into community partnerships with a number of agencies and groups, and over the last little while, a lot of those partnerships have been was a result of provincial funding. We've identified some new projects or new potential school builds opportunities, as well as some schools that have some unused space. We have and will be need to schedule a community planning partnerships public meeting, and right now it's scheduled for November the 14th, where we can present all the community partners and the public, as well as those on our list of the proposed capital projects and potential opportunities, as we've discussed in this report. And with the approval of these schools, notifications regarding the date of the community planning and partnership will be circulated to all identified community partners, and it will be posted in all newspapers and the board website, and we'll Twitter, do all the communication required. Be glad to answer any of the questions. I do want to point out that it's really good to see that we don't have a lot of unused space in our schools. We are able to, we've done a great job in terms of utilizing our space. There's still some underutilized spaces, but not significant per se. Be glad to answer any of the questions. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Collard.
Thank you. I noticed that 2 of the elementary schools that you've listed in the report as having unused space are in ERA 102, and we are going to be undergoing a boundary review in that ERA. I'm wondering if perhaps we're getting the cart before the horse by declaring those 2 schools before knowing the results of the boundary review.
It's a good point. I think one of the issues that we kind of got criticized by the community last time before we went to close schools to look for community partners. So I think they can go both hand in hand. Those schools haven't changed. As I said, we've attempted to do that, and depending what the situation moves moving forward, I don't know. Again, this is just our thought. If it has to be removed, it can be removed from the list, but it may provide some opportunity if anybody else is interested out there. These schools have been presented for the last number of years, and we've had no real interest per se. So nothing's acted upon. The results of the boundary review may not result in anything. At least we have this in the hopper. And again, it doesn't preclude us from saying, if there is an interested party, letting them know that we're doing this process.
Trustee Reynolds. Oh, sorry.
Through your chair, Defense to Trustee Collard. It's an excellent point. We preferred to try to stick to the criteria and put it out there, but ultimately the decision is ours, and we would inform any partners that this is undergoing a boundary review, and it may or may not result in space being lost in those schools. Some of that vacant space being lost in some of those schools. So we feel it's better to try to stick to the criteria as best we can, and then deal with any potential partners. So,
Trustee Reynolds.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm wondering if staff have identified any targets for the organization in terms of how many partnerships we would like to achieve. Do we have any? Because it sounds like a lot of these community partnerships are very organic, and they also have attached to them some provincial funding. But have we set any targets that we were going after?
No.
Right on that. Through your chair, Prevents to Trustee Reynolds. It's a good question. We're not even sure how we would do that, because we go out with this, and this is not the only opportunity that organizations can seek partnerships with us, and it's not our only opportunity to seek them from other organizations. It's an ongoing process. General Manager Renzella commented on the money being a factor. It's the major factor. So and we have not garnered, I would say, any partnerships out of this process. The partnerships we've had have come through provincial funding.
Okay, Trustee Pappen.
Thank you. Through the chair, my question has been answered. Thank you.
Okay, the speakers list has been exhausted, so we will see you again in a couple weeks. Thank you very much, General Manager Renzella and Superintendent Fairman. Okay, next is number 522, SIAK representative change. Superintendent Zonnefeld, report 18133 on page 21 of your board package. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, you have before you a report around a change in representative change in SIAK. These come to you from time to time when the associations are bringing forward either a change in the representative or in their alternate. So Lisa Cameron has been an alternate for Autism Ontario Halton for well over a year, I believe, and they've had a vacancy now in their representative resigned or pulled away from that position. So now this is simply her moving over from the alternate position into the full rep position. So it's here for trustees to consider, and I welcome any questions.
Trustee Reynolds.
Thank you. I fully support Lisa's candidacy. I've had the pleasure of sitting beside her, and I would like to share with trustees that my takeaway was she's an excellent representative. However, I'm not sure people know she is from Halton Hills, from the north. So she brings to the table a northern perspective, which I really appreciate because we don't always have geographic equity around the table. And so it's lovely to have somebody who sees the issues from what's happening up there. So I'm really glad we've got her on board.
Trustee Collard.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules of order so that we can deal with this item tonight.
Okay, so there's a motion to suspend the rules. Is that seconded by Trustee Reynolds? And is there any discussion on waiving the rules? Oh, suspend the rules, sorry. Seeing none, so we will all those in favor of suspending the rules?
No.
That passes, but that's carried, but not unanimously. Okay, so we will. We'll read the motion into the record. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the recommended appointment of Lisa Cameron as the HDSB SIAK representative for Autism Ontario Halton, moved by Trustee Collard, seconded by Trustee Reynolds. Is there any discussion at all on this? Okay, seeing none. Okay. Yes. Okay, all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we are up to 523, Trustee Honoraria, Report 18124 on page 22 of the board package. Superintendent Veerman, welcome.
Thank you. Through the chair, the regulation states how the honorarium is to be calculated for board members, and it is up to the this board to approve the honorarium for the incoming board. There is an appendix attached that shows how the honorarium is calculated. I have made reference to a bit of conflicting information that we received initially. There was to be an increase in the base amount, but a memo issued subsequent to that on August 24th did retract that. There still is, I guess, some uncertainty as to what the final amount will be. So the information that's presented in this report is based on, again, the latest information that we have. And if there is a change subsequent to that, we will advise the trustees. And I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you for your report. And we have one person on the speakers list so far, Trustee Harvey Hope.
I'm probably the best one to say this. Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair, to Superintendent Veerman. It's unfortunate that all of the people in the education community have had raises in the last 4 years, and the trustees are deemed to be not important enough to have a small $400 raise over 4 years. So I appreciate that there was nothing we could do about it, but it is unfortunate. But thank you for presenting this report, and hopefully people will at some point figure out that trustees do have the best interests of children in their heads, and deserve to be compensated for all of the time people put in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are no more speakers on the list. Thank you very much. Okay, next we are up to number 524, Audit Committee Annual Report to the Board, report number 18125 on page 24 of the board package. Trustee Gray, would you like to speak to this? Go ahead.
Thank you very much. In this report, report number 18125, this annual report highlights the Audit Committee actions for the year ending August 31st, 2018, including the receipt of internal audits either completed or still underway by the Regional Internal Audit Team. In addition, the Audit Committee reviewed and recommended for approval the report received from the external auditor Deloitte regarding the scope and extent of their work for the 2007-2018 school year. In addition, the Audit Committee members accomplished other goals during this past year, as outlined in the section entitled Summary of Work Performed at the, and this section is found at the very end of this report. That concludes all that I have to say. You've got the report before you, and we're pleased to answer any questions that might come forward.
Do we have any questions for Trustee Gray?
I have something.
Go ahead, Director Miller.
Sorry, through you, Chair Gerbens, to Trustee Gray. And I guess it's on page 26 of the annual report to the Board of Trustees for the year ended August 31st, 2018. I think it's just really a fixing. If you look at the second paragraph, it says, in addition, staff attendees at the committee meetings included, and it's got a number of HDSB staff, and then it's got the regular 3 members of the audit. They're not of the audit committee, but come to all audit committee meetings. I guess, I wonder if we should reword that, because it implies that they're HDSB staff and they aren't.
If the staff is removed as a word at the top.
Fine by me, yeah.
Yes, if we remove that word staff, and I agree to that correction, that clears it up. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other speakers on the speakers list, we will see that again in a couple of weeks. Okay, on to the next one, number 525, Bylaw Review, Report 18130 on page 29 of your board package. Trustees Collard and Oliver, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Trustees have been working very hard on these bylaws for the last year, and now they are ready to be presented to the board, and in 2 weeks we will be voting on them. I'm just so impressed with the hard work and the diligence that has gone into this. We've had legal review, we've had parliamentarian review, we've had multiple discussions in subcommittee as well as at committee of the whole board. And I think we are in really good shape moving forward, and I'm so pleased that we're getting this done before the end of term.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none. Well, I think we've had them all answered over all those meetings. Okay, so moving on to the next one, number 526, Policy Review, Report 18132 on page 60 of your board package. Again, Trustees Collard and Oliver, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We're bringing these forward for public posting, as we do with all of our policies, to post for a minimum period of 25 days. I have one small revision to make to the fundraising policy. On page 69, under objective, it says principles of public education. That should read guiding principles of public education in order to match the administrative procedure. And so with that one small change, I would request that we waive the rules so that we can post these immediately.
Do I have a seconder to waive the rules? Is that Trustee Reynolds? Okay. Is there any discussion on waiving or suspending the rules? Okay, we'll come back to that one. Okay, so we yep. Suspend the rules. This is the one right here. Okay, all those in favor of waiving the rules, suspending the rules? Okay, and that passes, but not unanimously. Trustee Reynolds was the seconder. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so we have, I'm going to read it in.
No, it's another small little change that needs to be made, so you can do it either before or after, doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm going to read the motion into the record. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board post the revised fundraising policy and the revised executive limitations director's job description policy as appended to report 18132 on the board website for a period of 25 days, soliciting public input, and that the policy and any input returned to the board for consideration at the first board meeting in November 2018. Moved by Trustee Collard, seconded by Trustee Oliver. And Trustee Harvey-Hope, go ahead.
Also in the school fundraising policy, the word complement with an I should be complement with an E. But because we are suspending the rules and having it posted today, the change needs to be pointed out rather than made quietly in between the two packages.
Trustee Collard.
And I've also been reminded by Vice Chair Al Harrison that when these policies are eventually approved, that the previous motions that had been issued dealing with these items need to be either rescinded or removed from the order paper.
Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Chair, I have a request for an amendment to the motion. And that is, I believe that the title change is to operational leadership, and that would replace executive limitations, director's job description policy, if I'm not mistaken.
You are 100% correct. Thank you.
Okay, so do we have consensus that that should be changed? Yes. Okay, that is changed. Okay, so I will, anybody, okay, Trustee Harvey Hope.
Thank you. Also, the order paper, there are some that need to stay until we finish the process and some that can come off. So it's not just a whole, because some of the structure pieces that were supposed to be done when we did the policy development policy, like a table of contents in effect, hasn't yet been fully implemented. And so some of those pieces need to stay on. But the ones about getting a fundraising policy can come off, obviously. So it's just bits and pieces.
Okay, does anybody need me to read this motion again with the new name in it? Everybody's good? Okay, so we will. Okay. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, and we have one information item for this evening. Number 531, Staffing Update 2018, Report 18126 on page 69 of the board package. Welcome, Mr. Taha.
Good evening, and thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to our Board of Trustees. Before you for information on behalf of Executive Officer McFadden, who's not with us tonight, is an update on the 2018-2019 staffing process that we undertook in the months of August and September. So I'm going to go through the report quickly through some key highlights, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. As noted in the report, the objective of our annual staffing process is to achieve a 100% fill rate in terms of permanent and or long-term occasional teachers in our classrooms. So before our students' secondary and elementary classrooms, we try to minimize having a supply teacher, which would ensure stability of programming and continuity from day one in the classroom. So some key highlights which will illustrate how we've done this year. As of September 4th, 2018, on the elementary side of things, we have 2,048 kindergarten to grade 8 classes. And we managed to fill all of these classes with permanent or LTO teacher, save 56 that were not filled by an LTO or a permanent teacher. And most of these are a result of late enrollments and late medical information that we've received late in the year where we didn't have enough time to complete the staffing process. And the other half of those 56 were a result of late adds to classes in August. On the secondary side, again, as of September 4th, 2018, we have 7,737 classroom sections allocated to secondary schools. And remarkably, we've managed to fill all but one FTE by a permanent teacher. So one FTE is 6 sections. So of those 7,700 sections, all but 6 were not filled by a permanent teacher. and that was due to a late retirement that we received. And only 5 LTOs were not filled also through the central placement process, which is also a significant improvement from last year, where we had roughly over 200 LTOs not filled. So again, kudos to the staffing department and a few changes that we've made with the staffing process under the leadership and direction of Debbie DeBoer, the manager of HR. Also in the month of August, we've facilitated in partnership with our principals and our senior admin team, the central placement processes for secondary and elementary schools. This is the process by which Regulation 274 is executed and administered, where those who are on the LTO list are placed in LTO vacancies or permanent positions. Again, through that process, 226 LTOs were filled on the elementary side, on the secondary side, and over 130 LTOs were filled on the elementary side. Subsequent to that process, the interview process also takes over, where there's no, where the central placement process did not succeed, and those sections were filled in that manner. Again, as I indicated, the aim of this process is to achieve 100% fill rate. Obviously, inevitably, you can't achieve that rate due to some of the reasons I highlighted. But some of the things that we do to ensure that we have a robust and a healthy STO list, which would allow us to which would allow us to have the LTO process completed efficiently. We, in 17-18, hired 276 elementary teachers to our, 276 secondary teachers to our secondary supply list. And we also added 543 elementary teachers to our occasional elementary list. Also, we continue to recruit and aggressively target French qualified teachers. As we know, it's a challenge across the province, but we've managed through the efforts of the HR department and a few of our principals who volunteered to attend career fairs to hire 85 elementary French occasional teachers for 17-18, which is our roster for this year. Those are the key highlights from the process and how it unfolded in August and September, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you very much for your report. There are no questions. So obviously your report was very well written. Thank you. Okay, next we are up to number 5.4, notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none. Next is the director's report.
Thank you, Chair Drabence. I have 2 items tonight. The first one is Chair Drabence mentioned at the beginning that tomorrow, October 4th, is the national, I have 3 items. National Day of Action for murdered and missing Indigenous women. To that end, and I know Trustee Daniele and Trustee Collard and Trustee Al Harrison represent the Board of Trustees on our committee, and they have all spoken about a special human rights symposium that we are having December 4th. I think it's the December 4th Human Rights Symposium. The focus is on Indigenous issues and concerns and the challenges of the relationship with the First Peoples of this country and those of us who have come after the First Peoples. And we've got a great lineup of speakers. I'm sure some of the workshops will be difficult as we're listening to residential school survivors and survivors of the scoop and so on. But I think it is, it is difficult for us sometimes to understand, and sometimes we feel helpless even when we feel that there are and believe and know that there are injustices in the way that our Indigenous people live their lives or have been forced to live their lives. And sometimes we don't know, we feel a little helpless on how we can make change or bring around awareness to that. This symposium is us trying to do something, to try to raise awareness, to try to make more people knowledgeable of the realities of those from the First Nations of this country on how they live and why they have been living like that and what they've been subjected to. So I invite members of the public to attend, and of course all boards of trustees, and we will have many external partners coming here to the symposium as well. Okay. The second thing I wanted to show is PIC is coming up, and we have a little video that we would like to show that we queued up. Yep.
The Halton District School Board is proud to be hosting the Parent Involvement Conference. This day-long event brings together parents, guardians, and educators to learn how the educational system works, provide an opportunity to give important feedback about what we do, and to have a whole lot of fun. This year's theme, Imagining Possibilities, Inspiring Success, will focus on building global competencies for our children. Our keynote speaker this year is Amber Mack, an expert on using digital platforms for both work and play. After the keynote, Amber will be doing a Q&A where we will look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, I'm Amber Mack, and I'm looking forward to speaking at your Parent Involvement Conference. I'll be kicking off the day bright and early, talking about what it takes to succeed in our high-tech world. As a busy mom, entrepreneur, and someone who loves technology, I hope to set the stage to help you adapt to a new way of living, working, and playing.
Teachers, instructional program leaders, administrators, and experts from our community will lead breakout sessions for parents, guardians, and staff. Workshops will include collaborative problem solving, financial literacy resources, robotics in the classroom, digital citizenship, homework help, technology education, science, technology, engineering, and math, and information about a new iSTEM program coming to Aldershot High School in 2019, and so much more. Research has shown that the involvement of parents and guardians in their children's education has a positive impact on student learning and helps create a sense of community at school. That's why we feel conferences like PIC are great opportunities to network, share ideas, and offer input on important educational areas.
The PIC conference has grown in popularity since it began 11 years ago. We feel this annual event is such a wonderful way for our parents and guardians to come together, learn different perspectives from educators, and just as importantly, from each other.
We look forward to seeing you at Garth Webb Secondary School in Oakville on Saturday, October 13th. Register for the conference at the link at the bottom of the screen.
Thank you, and thank you to Superintendent Pennyfather. I think, Chair, somebody mentioned a voiceover. We may have a candidate or a competition for Superintendent Hunt-Gibbons on the voiceover now. So, the last thing I have to say in the director's report tonight is not something I'm particularly pleased about for us as a board. But I am super happy for the individual who has written me the letter because she is very deserving of this time. Today I received this letter. It says, "Dear Stuart, after much thought and consideration, I am submitting my letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement from the Halton District School Board. I value the 30 years I have spent in the education sector, and specifically my final 8 years as a superintendent of business and treasurer with the Halton District School Board. It has been my privilege to be a part of an organization that continually strives to provide the best educational opportunities for all students in Halton. I have had the opportunity to work with so many wonderful people over the years, and I would like to specifically acknowledge and extend my appreciation to the following: the Board of Trustees for their continuous support, my colleagues on the senior administration team for their exemplary leadership, camaraderie, and respect for the corporate voice as an equal partner at the table, all of my fellow co-workers, past and present. A special heartfelt thank you to all of my staff in the Business Services Department for their continuous hard work and dedication in serving the board and the students of Halton. Finally, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation and gratitude to you, Stuart, for your leadership, your unwavering support, and friendship. I am ending my professional working career with the personal satisfaction that I have carried out all of my roles and responsibilities with integrity, accountability, and passion. Yours truly, Lucy Veerman. If you can indulge me for a second, Chair Drabens, I have a couple of comments on of my own for, well, I guess she's a civilian now, so I can call her Lucy. For Lucy. Not yet, Superintendent Veerman. Superintendent of business, for those that don't know, is an extremely difficult job in any school board because they're the person that keeps us honest around the finances and is transparent and lets the communities, the ministry, and other layers of government aware of how we're spending our money. It's a difficult job because they are surrounded, and in this case, Lucy is surrounded by many, many creative trustees, many creative senior admin, people who have great ideas on how to spend money and how to spend money in support of students. I know all the ideas that come forward to Lucy are always about the students, but sometimes she has to help us navigate through it properly. Sometimes it's a no. Sometimes we can't spend that money because we don't have it, or it's redirected, or it's enveloped, or it's somewhere else. So it's a difficult job. And I can honestly say that Lucy always did that job and treated all of us with great respect, deference, and always made a difference. She always made you feel valued. She always made your ideas feel valued, and she implemented and helped this board be successful. It's maybe not ironic, but it's somewhat coincidental that we had an EQAO result, EQAO presentation this evening, and we had one on iSTEM and all those. Those things just simply would not happen for this board and for our students if it wasn't for Superintendent Veerman. She's always understood that we work and either whether you're a trustee or in staff, we're working for the benefit of society by supporting children. And she always had that eye on the ball. And I, for one, will personally very much miss her. Thank you, Lucy.
Superintendent Veerman, I am very sad to know that you're leaving us. I've always found you very professional and caring, and you've given the board exemplary service over the past 8 years. You've been a great help as a new trustee, and I'm sure that's around the table. People feel the same way. And I know there's a speakers list growing in front of me that probably want to say something. But thank you very, very much. Trustee Daniele.
Thank you. I'll make this brief because I know everybody wants to speak, but I want to issue my thanks, particularly when you're part of essentially the board of directors for a $600 million a year organization. That $600 million a year can seem overwhelming. It's a lot. Yet you've always brought us the budget in such an easy to understand way, and you never shied away from any question. Anything I didn't know, I never felt embarrassed asking you. You were always gracious in your answers and gracious in the sharing of your knowledge, and shorter PowerPoint, which I personally appreciated, but still getting all that information and hosting numerous budget sessions. The public doesn't get to see that. They see us decide on the budget one night, but they don't see the numerous meetings you have with us before that. And your patience, your knowledge, your expertise that you so generously shared with us has been appreciated and will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Trustee Gray.
Thank you, through the chair. I'd like to also sort of piggyback on Trustee Daniele's comments. Lucy, upon hearing earlier this evening that you had submitted your letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement effective January 2019, I was instantly delighted for you. Having the opportunity to set your sails, to travel toward new adventures in different directions represents so many exciting opportunities, and all very well deserved. And then my second thoughts focused on the impact that you've had while being the Superintendent of Business Services and Treasurer at the Halton District School Board. From my experiences of working as a representative of the Board of Trustees on the Audit Committee, and most recently as Chair of the Audit Committee, I have observed and appreciated your support and assistance as you guided the members of the Audit Committee through all of the complexities and intricacies involved with financial statements and the external, internal, and regional internal audit assessments. Of course, this represents only a portion of the many responsibilities that you have in your role here at the Halton District School Board. What makes your contributions so special over these years is not just what you've accomplished, but it's how that you have accomplished them. Through your highly professional leadership and amazing expertise, the board has been well taken care of in all areas related to financial. In closing, I'd like to extend my appreciation for all that you have done for all of the students and the Board of Trustees here at the Halton District School Board. Thank you.
Trustee Amos.
How can you follow that? I just want to say congratulations, Lucy, and thank you for everything you've done for all the students of our system, because you have made our system that much better. You have managed us as a Board of Trustees so that we understand the budget and explained it to us. You helped us through the fair funding process so that we understand how we are the lowest funded board in the province and have been able to help us figure out how to be able to advocate for ourselves. There's an endless list of things that you've helped us with, but the most important is thank you for being you. Thank you for your sense of humor. Thank you for all the great things you have done for all the system.
Trustee Pappen.
Thank you, through the chair, to Superintendent Verman. I just wish you well. You've earned your keep. And I will miss your guidance, your patience, and your knowledge. But mostly, I will miss our conversations about curling.
Trustee Harvey Hope.
Through you, Chair, to Superintendent Veerman. I echo what my fellow trustees have said. And also, as a former audit chair, I really appreciate the fact that you and I started at the same time, and we had to shepherd through the way we used to do audit committee to the way the ministry said we had to do it new ways, and we've gone through lots of different permutations of that, and also for the fact that a lot of parents probably don't realize that you've affected their lives personally. You know, a lot of people don't realize that the corporate staff have an impact on the student, but the school cash online and the new accounting system and finding money for repairs and trying to figure out how to get these schools built and making sure the financial statements are readable so that all the people who want to tell us we're not doing it right can find the information they're looking for. And, so the superintendent of business has a direct effect on students in the classroom and in parents on how if they have to write out checks and how easy it is to pay for field trips. So it's a big job and you've done it really well, and I wish you all the best. And I'm really glad we have you till February or January 31st, so that all the things that are still outstanding get done between now and then. So a couple more months and then you can relax. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. And that exhausts the speakers list. So it is 10 o'clock. I need a motion to extend. Trustee Collard, seconded by Trustee Amos. Is there any discussion at all on extending? No. motion to extend. Oh, sorry, Trustee Collard.
Might I request that since it is 10 o'clock and we are making a motion to extend, that trustees reflect that in their comments and questions going forward.
Thank you for that point. And all those in favor of the motion to extend?
Bless you.
And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we are up to communications from the chair. You'll notice there's a report in there. I'm not going to speak to it. It's in the board package. Do we have any committee reports at all? Trustee Pappen?
Oh, sorry. Last night at SIAK, Superintendent Zonneveld provided a list of supports for new staff for the over 70 staff in the role of CERT and self-contained class teacher. These teachers will be supported throughout the year with PD and resources to enable them to do their jobs. Staff is continuing discussions about the scope and structure of the work performed by our social workers, child and youth counselors. The demand for services provided by staff is very high, and it is important to meet the needs of the students. Staff will be bringing a report to SIAK later this year. Staff will be evaluating the swimming program offered in the life skills and CPP classes. This evaluation is focused on instruction, content, and safety. SIAK will be kept informed as this evaluation process moves forward. Superintendent Pichetti provided AOD a summer update. The update included images showing the changes that have taken place over the summer with regards to time allocation needed to complete certain projects while the schools are empty, such as putting in elevators where needed. $8 million in upgrades to schools have taken place over the past few months to meet the AODA deadline in our schools. Principal Marks presented the Working Together Guide to Special Education. This guide has been provided to explain the process used by HDSB to complete the special education needs of students. This guide will provide information about the identification, placement, and review committee process. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Amos?
I know we all saw the video on the PIC conference, but I want to remind everybody you need to register. So if you haven't already, please make sure you go on to the link and do it. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Danielle.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to Trustee Amos, because I know. Through you, Madam Chair, to Trustee Amos. No, that's okay. Because I know you're on the committee for the PIC conference, and I watched the video and I went online. I'm already registered. I looked at all the workshops and everything else. But I'm noticing a change this year, and I just want to clarify for any of the public that might be watching. It says that snacks are provided. I know in the past lunch has been provided, but is it now recommended that people bring a bagged lunch with them, just that they're aware of that? I wondered if you could just
I do believe
get
that
for us.
That's correct. There will only be snacks. It won't be a full meal.
That's great. Thank you for that, Trustee Amos.
Thank you.
Trustee Collard.
Yes, the Ontario Public School Board Association had its September meeting last weekend, and I have forwarded the notes and presentation from EQAO that were held at the meeting, and if you have any questions with respect to that meeting, please let me know. Oh, and I also did have a question for Superintendent Zonneveld regarding the change to the swimming program at our high schools. I had a question from the community about why the communication to students with students in the CPP was so late into the school year. There was some anticipation on behalf of students. They wanted and were looking forward to the swimming program, and only found out a couple of days before that it wasn't going to happen. And so just sensitivity about that in the community.
Through your chair, Rebens to Trustee Collard. I don't know the answer to it. I allowed Superintendent Zonnefeld to go because he's mentoring a superintendent for another in another board. But we'll certainly get that answer to you. And if you can repeat the question at the next board meeting, we can also answer it publicly. Okay?
Okay, seeing no one else on the list, I attended a Halton Student Transportation Services meeting last week to install the new director of the Halton Catholic District School Board as part of the directors there. And that's about it. Okay, so moving on to trustee questions and comments. Trustee Gray.
Yes, I just wanted to put a shout out to two things tonight. Acton District High School. I wanted to put a shout out. I was at their school council meeting last night and I listened to the report of some upcoming special events. And one of the special events they're having is on the day where it's take your grade 9 student to work day. Acton is having all of the grade 8s from their feeder schools come into Acton and spend the day, and they're calling it Take Your Grade 8 Student to High School Day. So in the absence of any grade 9 students in the school, there's room then to accommodate all the grade 8 students on a Take Your Kids to High School Day for grade 8s. This will help a lot with the transitioning of students and the introduction to high school life. And I commend all the great ideas coming out of Acton in order to build that community and to keep students really highly engaged and excited to come to Acton District High School.
Vice Chair Harrison.
Thank you very much. Through you, Madam Chair, I've had a number of questions regarding the reorganization process and just how that works.
Reorganization of schools? I've dropped. A number of the superintendents can answer that question better than I, but sure, we're ready.
Okay. Through the chair, so the question to just repeat is around school, particularly elementary school reorganizations. There is certainly is a process, and we keep our community informed of the process, where we have a number of different objectives that have to be met and ministry regulations that have to be met. Around class sizes and ministry averages and so forth. So as a result of those, within the first week of school, we report in what our actual enrollments are. We have our projected enrollments, but of course, by the end of the first week of school, we've taken attendance multiple times, and we have certainly a confirmed aspect around what the actuals are that have actually arrived. Based on that, those are reported to our Human Resources Department, and the process then begins around ensuring that we are meeting the ministry stated criteria. So, for example, having 90% of our primary classes at 20-1. With a maximum, with no primary classes being above 23. And there are various other regulations that have to be met. As a result of that, that puts schools, it puts the system in difficult positions in terms of having to look at reorganizing classes and staff accordingly. So there is a process that is undertaken where the various different school organizations are examined. Human Resources works with the school operations superintendents, informs schools of the changes that are required in order us to meet those ministry obligations. So that in and of itself is kind of a really short recap in terms of what happens. So we try to do it as quickly as possible. I know Human Resources works as quickly as possible with the schools and with the unions involved and with the staff involved, in order, if there are changes to be made. In some cases that may involve
a school with lower enrollment than expected and having a staff member removed and reorganizing accordingly. In some cases, it may be adding a staff member and adding a class to the organization. This can consequently sometimes add combined classes, or it can remove combined classes from a school organization. So all of which is really out of the control of the school administrator at that point. But certainly we're very adept at doing it. Our school principals are experts in this matter. There's very few times, looking around the outside of the table here of my elementary colleagues, I think we've all been there. We've all been in that situation many times. In fact, more often than not, I would say that we've experienced reorganizations in our schools, and work very carefully and in a sensitive manner, or with our students and with our parents, knowing that from the very first day that they arrive, they're attached to those teachers and they don't want to leave. So we understand that these transitions are difficult, and we work very, very closely with parents, often going back to input that we've gathered through the class building process back in the spring, and using that information to help inform any changes. So, for example, if we know we have a few students who make a positive pairing and we need to do some reorganization, we may try and move a grouping together versus one individual. So that would just be one aspect that is used in the process of reorganizing classes within our school buildings. So I don't know whether that's helped answer the question, but.
You have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you very much. I think that just having that available on tape will be a great resource to be able to point to should families still have any questions about that process. And I just wonder whether we proactively have any statements anywhere as years are transitioning that this may be an option, this may happen kind of thing, because it seems to me that people are always caught off guard, and it may be helpful just to have something to point to that, you know, this could potentially happen, and these are the reasons why. Like, it's not poor planning on our part. It's a process that kicks in when, you know, more students show up or less students show up or whatever.
And just to follow up on that particular point, that is something that we have done in the past in terms of sending out. It was almost a one-pager. Often it doesn't really register with parents because their mind isn't there, and it's talking about a lot of things that, you know, we're talking about ratios and so forth. It often isn't the first thing on their mind, whether we send it at the end of June or whether we send it with all the first day information home. But we do have a memo, and that we're going to be looking at a couple different pieces around notifying students of class placement. They're going to be slightly different next year, and we're certainly going to be incorporating this piece into that information piece to our community so that they're aware of the possibility, and hopefully that will help in the future.
Superintendent Hunt-Gibbons.
Thank you. Well, Superintendent Etoff was speaking. I just happened to look up, so I did want to give kudos to communications to say that there was a letter dated in August, so information went to elementary administrators, parents, FAQs are shared, but as Rob has shared here, people don't always focus on those things because then this doesn't happen until the third or fourth week. And that's part of the angst that's there because the attachments are formed. And I know certainly that parents will be upset about why did it take so long? Why didn't the reorg happen at Labor Day or the first week or anything else? And so trying to explain to them that unfortunately there are timelines that go with this process that have to be met, and that of course change is never easy. But sharing out those class sizes, and that was done this year, and thank you for sharing them, because as a secondary background person, I relied on that communication a great deal to ensure that I was giving families correct information and trying to make a unpleasant situation as positive as possible.
Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much. Two very quick things. I want to just piggyback on comments made earlier tonight about the Inspire Awards. I'm asking trustees to check in with the file on the Google form. We now have 4 nominations for the month of September, and that's great. I think we need to continue to promote this award and see if we can make sure that everyone is aware of the existence of this award, both in our schools and in our local communities. Secondly, I'd like to just thank all of my trustee colleagues. I see that I believe almost all of, if not all of us, are all planning to attend the HLF Benefit Bash on Thursday, November the 1st. And for those who have not arranged to do so in terms of senior admin, you can still get a ticket. Again, it's from 5 to 9 at the Oakville Conference Center, Thursday, November 1. Thank you.
Okay, and seeing no one else on the speakers list, I have a question actually with regards to the water testing and especially my parent group from Robinson. Many people are concerned about the lead levels, and if the process could be explained, and also how effective it is for removing the lead so that they're to allay fears, parents' fears. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Griffin. So I'm bringing a report on October 17th. I think it's called the Drinking Water Testing or Safe Drinking Water Report. And I've provided a little bit more information in that report about the process. And there is also currently on our Halton website a lot of very useful information linked to the Ministry of the Environment, as well as an FAQ that we've prepared that provides some additional information. I did look at the sample for MMR. It did have a lead exceedance for the standing sample. However, the flushed sample was below the ministry threshold. So that indicates that through the normal running of water and flushing of water in that building, which occurs throughout the day when students are in the building, the water is, there is no lead exceedance. And that is the case in the majority of the schools where there was a standing sample that showed a lead exceedance. The flush sample was well below the ministry threshold and therefore considered safe to drink. Flushing, daily protocol of flushing the drinking fixtures is what we are directed to do as a corrective measure by the Halton Region of Health, as well as through the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. And that flushing occurs for 2 years at every drinking fixture every morning before students arrive at school.
Thank you very much. Trustee Harvey Hope.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Your response to Chair Purbank answered most of things I wanted to bring up, but there is one outstanding issue. I did provide links to some constituents that were concerned about the lead report to the links on the website, but one of the things that came back was, do our new water bottle stations have filters on them, or should they have them? So just to point that out, that if by any chance that can be factored into the report, because I've told people this report's coming and I presume it is going to get shared widely. I think also to emphasize the difference between standing water and flushing water, and I don't think parents mean it's like, oh, my kid, I'm sending my kid with bottled water. Well, no, you don't need to do that because, it is safe. And I would think that in some cases it's safer than maybe their own water at their own house that they're filling the water bottles from. So that is the idea, is that it's every fixture that they drink from and that it's flushed every day, and that anywhere that's ever had any problem, it's got 2 years of flushing before they even stop flushing again. So it is safe to drink. It is safe. It is safe. But the question is whether or not these new water bottle dispensers have filters or if they need them. It's just an answer that they'd like to have.
Okay, seeing no more questions or comments, I'd like to, I'm looking for a motion to rise and reconvene into private. Trustee Collar and Trustee Chowdhury. Is there any discussion on that at all? Seeing none. Okay. All those in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. We are now in private session. Do we need a couple of minutes to just stretch before we start?
Thank you, everybody in the gallery. Have a great night. Nice to see you.
We just need to clear the room.